All right, it's time for Lance's Lock, our weekly show as we talk about the lines, what to play for the upcoming college football week. Jim Dunaway along with the man, Lance Taylor of lanceslock.com. Before we get into the games, for the people who are joining us now, both on video and on the stream right now, how do you get in to get the plays from lanceslock.com?
Yeah, just go to lanceslock.com. We'll give you a free play every single day. You can kind of monitor that, see what you think, but it's only $90 a month. You can jump in for 1 month. You don't like it, you can jump right out. I will tell you this, Dunaway, 6 years in existence, we've never had a losing year. The last 6 weeks have not been good. Baseball has not been kind to us this past summer. We're turning to football, though. In full transparency, we were 4-5 last Saturday, so it wasn't a great start to college football, but we readjust in week 2. We feel really confident. I love this board.
Yeah, and I just heard one guy from Vegas says for a year you pay $4,999 for his service usually on a normal time. At lanceslock.com, you always get a great price, and that price rarely changes at all.
Yeah, really. I mean, we've had one upcharge in the 6 years. We went from $80 a month to $90 a month a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But again, it's $3 a day. So, most people that I know that wager anywhere from $100 to $500 to $1,000, people that are wagering $1,000 are paying $100 in vig or in juice. And, I mean, it's $90. It's just, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money to pay for a full month of selection.
So let's talk about the games, and we're going to keep it simple. We're going to bounce through the TV windows. So we'll start early with some really interesting matchups. One of the bigger games in the country is Oregon going to the Horseshoe to play Ohio State. When you look at that game, Ducks and Buckeyes, it's a great marquee game. They've met recently in a national championship since the playoff era. But really, these two teams are not a whole lot alike when it comes to rosters, are they?
Oregon, I mean, they've got players, and they'll have the ability to run the football based on what Mo Ibrahim was able to do for Minnesota last Thursday night. I think we all watched that Minnesota-Ohio State game. And Ohio State didn't look good in the first half, and Ohio State also gave up 408 yards to Minnesota and 31 points. But Oregon, Anthony Brown, watching him on the Pac-12 network last week against Fresno, they jumped out to a 21-6 lead because they forced a couple of fumbles inside the red zone of Fresno State. Without that, there's a good chance Oregon would have lost that game. Now they go to Columbus. That's going to be a hyped-up atmosphere. C.J. Stroud got that first start out of his way. It was on the road, hostile environment. He made adjustments in the second half. I just think Ohio State's going to be able to score at will here. It's a big number. Right now, as we record this on Friday, I would lay Ohio State minus the 14.5.
Yeah, keep in mind, though, those can change, so you always check with lanceslock.com before you make your plays coming up on Saturday. I like Ohio State in this one as well, mainly because of the quarterback. I mean, Anthony Brown's got more experience, but C.J. Stroud showed me something in the second half against Minnesota where they, put up several touchdowns, and Stroud looked like he settled into the position. Inconsistent, yes, but a lot of big upside for that guy.
Yeah, I think we go back, and, people are making an argument right now. Justin Fields needs to be the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears over Andy Dalton, and ultimately this year he will be Matt Nagy's starting quarterback. But just 2 years ago, Fields was in this same situation as C.J. Stroud. He was an unknown, and he went over 40 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in 2019. So I fully expect and I fully trust Ryan Day with the weapons you've got in Garrett Wilson and also what you've got in Chris Olave. They're going to put up a ton of points, and he's going to put up big numbers.
In that early window also, a very interesting game involving an SEC team that is in transition. Pitt and Tennessee. Tell me about Pittsburgh and Tennessee as they go at Neyland Stadium right there on ESPN, right out of game day in that one. When we're recording this, it's Pitt giving the points to Tennessee.
Well, watching Joe Milton against Bowling Green, and again, I've said this, and it's getting redundant for people that listen to the next round, but Bowling Green is the worst team in the FBS right now. And, Tennessee goes up 14-0, and it looked like they were going to name their score. Joe Milton, to me, after those first couple of drives, looked a little lost against that Bowling Green defense. Pat Narduzzi is a defensive coach that will have this dialed in. They're 20-10-2 against the number in road games under Narduzzi. He's been great in these spots. Yeah. This will blow you away. Tennessee is 10-20. Their past 30 home games against the number as underdogs. Not only are they terrible in this spot, but how in the hell have they been underdogs 30 times in Neyland Stadium? I mean, I don't know what over how many years that is, but do you think in the history of Bryant-Denny, Alabama's been underdogs 30 times?
It doesn't seem like it, not at least in modern football since we've been with the forward pass. I think it's a big game for Josh Heupel, and I was really disappointed with the passing attack early on against Bowling Green. I was expecting more from a guy who had moments at Michigan and for a coach who really lit it up down at UCF. They've got to get better throwing the football. Don't know if this is the week to do it. Pitt and Tennessee.
Yeah, and Kenny Pickett, to me, the much better quarterback than Joe Milton in this spot. The numbers ticked up to 3. It looks like the public's starting to gravitate towards Pittsburgh. 11 o'clock games, traditionally I don't like these games, but I'm going to play Pitt in this spot -3.
Okay, Florida and USF is the other one and I only bring this up because the Florida Gators get Alabama next week. And there is some question about how much the quarterbacks are going to play, Emory Jones and the other guy, Anthony Richardson, I believe.
Yep.
How much they're going to play them. Is there a quarterback battle there? Florida and USF. USF was a hot mess in a 45-0 loss to NC State.
Yeah, I thought USF just looked terrible. And the ability for North Carolina State to run up and down the field. And you look at Florida, they're coming off a performance where they go over 400 yards on the ground just last week against Florida Atlantic. This number is sitting at 28.5, and you look at Florida, 0-4-1 against the number their last 5 games as a favorite. Now, South Florida's lost 9 straight games outright, and it's just a bad program right now under Jeff Scott. It's such a big number, Dunaway. I think I would have to play South Florida. So I think what you're going to get with Dan Mullen, to me, and I think you agreed with this earlier this week on the next round, ultimately Emory Jones is going to get that start against Alabama. But you got to figure out if Anthony Richardson seems to be right and if there are going to be some packages for him against Alabama. You're going to play a lot of 2 quarterbacks in this game, and 28.5 points, too many. I think South Florida is awful, but I'll take South Florida plus the points. Don't feel great about it, though.
Lance'sLock.com. This is the Lance's Lock podcast each week right here. Jim Dunaway, Lance Taylor. We're about to move to the afternoon window. And as always, we tell you how you can be part of the Lance'sLock.com family.
Again, just go to Lance'sLock.com. We'll give you a free play every day. We're really transparent. 4-5 last Saturday. That's not good enough. We're going to bounce back. Not sure exactly how many plays we'll have this weekend. But again, it's only $90 per month, $3 per day. Jump on board. You can just watch the free pick every day at Lance'sLock.com if you want to check that out. As we record this, last night we had the Dallas Cowboys, so we're 1-0 in the NFL. Planning on winning again this season, so jump on board, Lance'sLock.com.
Okay, don't have to go really in-depth in all these games, but I got 5 interesting ones. I want at least a nugget or a thought from you in the middle of the day. 1:30 ACC Network, Rutgers and Syracuse, Carrier Dome. There's something about this game that makes it pop off the sheet that makes me think this is the kind of game you'd play.
Well, full disclosure again, last week, Ohio was one of my biggest games. They were hosting Syracuse. Ohio was laying 2 points. They got run off the field. Dino Babers, this is a critical year. Dino Babers could get fired. And it was just a couple of years ago, he won 10 games. Both of these teams come in at 1-0. Rutgers is laying 2.5 on the road. But DeVito at quarterback, Tommy DeVito's got the experience. I kind of like Syracuse in this spot, plus 2.5 at home. I'll take the home dog.
Schiano has been so good.
He has been.
Rebooting this Rutgers program. Another quick one, Toledo and Notre Dame, streaming only on Peacock. This is the modern-day version of what ESPN2 did when they started that platform. They put a Duke, North Carolina basketball game on ESPN2 to make you subscribe to ESPN2. Peacock, it's a free thing, but they want you to sign up for it, so they're putting Notre Dame football over there. And it looks on paper like it should be a blowout, but Toledo brings a little interesting program to South Bend.
To me, at least in the second week of the season, I think Toledo is the best team in the MAC. I don't know what that exactly says. Jason Candle's got a pretty good thing going right now with Toledo. Back to the Peacock, I think you subscribe to more apps than anybody out there. But I did get the Peacock app because it was $4.99 a month, I think, for Dr. Death. So I think if you're a Notre Dame or Toledo fan, probably worth the $4.99 just to subscribe and watch. But I like Toledo in this spot, plus 17. Notre Dame coming off a win. They didn't cover against Florida State. We did have Florida State on Sunday night, but that was an emotional game. Jack Cohn played lights out. I think it'll be more about Kyron Williams. Let's figure out how we can get more balance on offense, running the football. That's what Tommy Rees, the offensive coordinator, is going to look for. So I think they'll grind out some possessions. 17 points too many. Toledo against the Notre Dame defense I saw. Cal Hamilton's great, but I think Toledo can eke out 21 points. I like Toledo plus 17.
The LancesLock.com podcast, part of the Double Down Media family here, UAB in Georgia. We talked about it a lot all week on the next round. How do you play a game where quarterback and the availability is such a big storyline?
Well, I think as long as Tyler Johnston doesn't crap the bed, I think UAB is going to be okay just because of their defense. Now, the number opened at 28. It's gone down to 23.5. But based on UAB's defense, the defense not only that we saw against Jacksonville State last week, but the defense we saw in 2020, I think they're going to be able to hang with the Georgia team that didn't score an offensive touchdown last week against Clemson. JT Daniels is a big factor here. That's one of the reasons the numbers dropped to 23.5. This money's almost kind of split 60% on Georgia, 40% on UAB. I like UAB plus points up.
I think you see the best version of Texas A&M that you're going to see in the early part of the season this week in Denver against Colorado. Technically a neutral site game just down the road from the Colorado campus in Boulder. The Aggies didn't look great at quarterback last week, but Jimbo saw a lot of positives. Really good Texas A&M performance this week or not?
Well, I think Carl Durrell did a pretty good job of piecing, the season together last year. This year, I'm just not sure on this Colorado team, and this seems like one of those spots Jimbo Fisher will take advantage. Haynes King has got to build some confidence going into an SEC schedule. Colorado's lost 14 straight against top 10s. Every one of those games by at least 17 points. This number is 17. The average margin of defeat, 32.5 points. I would lay the points here. I would take Texas A&M here.
Okay, 5 big games left. LancesLock.com podcast here for week 2 of the college football season. Iowa State, Cy-Hawk. You and I have watched one of these rivalry games together before over at your house. It's one of those that is always entertaining television, even when the teams aren't good. Now they're both in the top 10.
Yeah, I think here's what you got to watch for. Iowa coming off just a dismantling of Indiana with a couple of pick sixes. Iowa State lackluster win, over Northern Iowa. Who's going to be able to run the football? Is it Tyler Goodson? Is it Breece Hall? Iowa's run defense has been lights out. Just got a feeling where this number opened, and I was very interested on Sunday watching the number open. I thought it would be more 3. It's 4.5. I love when I can get a quality favorite over a public dog, and that's exactly what Iowa is in this spot. And Petrus at quarterback to Brock Purdy, it's not even close in my opinion. Iowa State, that Ames atmosphere is going to be lights out. Game day will be there. I love Iowa State in this spot, minus 4.5.
Okay, give me 2 quick thoughts on these SEC games, or at least SEC home games against out-of-conference. Texas, Arkansas, NC State, Mississippi State. What makes those 2 games interesting to you?
Well, to me, Hudson Card took 3 sacks and 24 passing attempts, and I think Arkansas is going to attack. Bumper Pool will not play in that first half. So I think Arkansas will keep this close. KJ Jefferson can't make critical mistakes. But I think Traylon Smith running the football, I think they'll keep it close for the first half. Bumper Pool with Grant Morgan in the second half. Defense will be the difference. I like Arkansas on that spot.
Okay, and Mississippi State at home to NC State, what can they do?
Well, I think NC State's the better team, but again, all of the money right now is on the Wolfpack. The Wolfpack looked great against South Florida. Mississippi State was lucky to come back from 20 down against La Tech. But I think Will Rogers has a big game here. I like Mississippi State plus 2.5 in this spot.
Okay, our final 2 games here, and we'll leave the Holy War for others to talk about Utah, BYU. But in the SEC East, there's Georgia, and then many people believe there's Florida, and then there's a battle to see who else could contend. And that game is Missouri and Kentucky, and it's in prime time at Kroger Field. I like a little bit of Missouri in the offseason. But Will Levis showed me something at quarterback. Where are you on Missouri and Kentucky?
Well, Levis and Liam Cohen, his new offensive coordinator, they come in 554 total yards. That's not something we've been used to under Mark Stoops. And Levis looked the part. Now, it will be a little bit different now that they're taking on Missouri, who kind of went through the motions. I was a little concerned, though. First-year defensive coordinator Steve Wilkes, you remember him with the Arizona Cardinals a couple of years ago. They gave up 475 yards to Central Michigan. Connor Basilick, though, I've got a ton of confidence in. They won that game 20-10 in Columbia last year. I've got a feeling this will be one of those games that will go back and forth, but I like Missouri. I would take a dog here. I'll take the points.
Okay, before we do our final big play of the prime time, tell me about Lance's Lock one more time.
Again, lanceslock.com, $90 for every single play the entire month. We've still got baseball up. We've got college football. The NFL has started this week. Jump on board. We give you a free play each and every day. Just sample us. If you like what you see, get on board. All major credit cards are accepted. Lance'sLock.com.
You don't do like stars or diamonds or play. This is a 25 image game or 25 coin game, 10 coin game. You just give us winners.
The Pac-12 North Game of the Year.
Yeah,
I mean, look, there's a lot of guys that do that to get people. They sell daily packages, which we've started to do just to give you an opportunity to give us a sample. We might send out, hey, all of Saturday's plays are $25 just to let you sample that. But we haven't done any of the star system. We haven't done like the AFC North Game of the Year.
But I do get the feeling you really like your Iowa State play this week.
I do. I really like Iowa State. I will not come off Iowa State.
I got a feeling in this last game we're going to talk about, you really like Washington a lot at Michigan.
Well, I do, and I still, again, and I told you guys this, it's kind of embarrassing. Well, not only the fact that I just got a laptop this month for the first time in the history of me having a laptop, but that I watched the Pac-12 network. It was set up all day long, and so I watched Washington and Montana, a lot of that, and Washington was able to go straight down and go up 7-0, and then they didn't score again. And Montana scored 10 points in the fourth quarter, and I just didn't understand Washington's offensive line, which, in my opinion, going into the season, looked to be the most experienced, the best offensive line. They got dominated in the fourth quarter. Jimmy Lake said, look, the program's embarrassed. I think they're going to bounce back. To me, I haven't seen Jim Harbaugh win a big game in a long time. Now, I know Jim Harbaugh is 12-0 at Michigan Stadium versus unranked non-conference opponents with only one game decided by one score. But I think this one will go into the fourth quarter, and I think Washington finds a way to grind out a win.
Lance'sLock.com, Week 2 college football. That's the podcast right there. Sample everything here at Double Down Media on our podcast center at nextroundlive.com. And we'll be back next week to talk college football with you on Lance'sLock.com, the podcast.